Go Travel Solutions, we're a neighbour here of Consultus, so our office is literally 50 metres over there. And we've been going since 2008. I'm not going to go through the details. Bit of background, social enterprise. So we're kind of a sort of a mission-led organisation, but very much focused about the very practical things that we can do around sustainable transport in that space. Work across all sorts of different sort of sectors. So we work with a lot of employers. Some of those names you'll recognise them there. Also, increasingly working with developers, as you'd be aware, probably in this country, there's a with the Labour agenda's big build programme as well. So working with those developments to work out how can we really help to provide more sustainable transport solutions, but actually also to be less car centric, because that's kind of a key part of the journey. Do a lot of work with transport providers and also with authorities around the country. Just a little bit, I guess, why are we focusing now on travel and transport? We've had a really good overview from Steve about the big picture. The reason is, you probably can't see the fine detail there, but we'll share these later. Travel, transport have stubbornly, has basically not changed since it started. If you go back to the measures there, you can just see in 1990, virtually it's got about the same carbon footprint now as it did then. You can see a very little dip. That dip is during COVID, not surprising, but it's tipped back up nearly to there. And now it's the top in terms of domestic transport, 29%. So it's the biggest one here in terms of our carbon footprint. So that's why we see it's really important in terms of what we can do in that space. Just an example really of carbon footprint and the relative things, and this is the sort of thing to be considering when you think about business travel. The differences that there are in terms of carbon footprint. So Glasgow to London there, the example there for the plane. So the orange yellow colour at the top is the indirect effects in terms of emissions, but you've got those relative differences there between going on the plane, going through to coach. Now there are lower carbon footprint options, but walking and cycling are probably not going to be what you're going to do if you're going from Glasgow to London. And really interesting thing, and I can't get my head around this, but the heart of the problem here around with carbon and in terms of thinking about diesel and petrol is you have 1 litre of diesel weighs around about 0.7, 0.8 kilogram of weight. You put that through the combustion process, and amazingly, it actually becomes heavier, and it actually produces something of the order of 2.3, 2.5 tonnes of carbon. How that happens, I do not know, other than that's what the stats say. And so inherently, within that combustion process, there is a problem there in terms of that it's just generating that much carbon. You mentioned earlier, Steve, that target obviously that we're all on is about this trajectory of 2050. We all want to go better than that. And you might say, well, what's the solution? We might say, well, it's down to the government. If only it could get its act together. If only international governments can get their act together. That's the answer. Well, yes, it is part of the answer. We may hope it's all about technology. We just need to generate better solutions. Maybe everyone just driving a electric car, that will do everything. Well, once again, we'd say yes, it's part of the solution, but it's not the total answer. And also then we might say, well, it's about behaviour change, and we would certainly say that definitely is part of the answer. We've got to start to think about actually how we behave as well as looking towards the government, pushing the government to think actually how can we be ambitious, and also put the investment in place, because we're very aware that just saying to people, oh, you need to travel more sustainably, if those options aren't available on the ground, then it's just as I say, it's not going to go anywhere. So one of the things that we really encourage businesses, big and small, is to think about actually what can we do and put together a bit of a workplace travel plan. This is, as I say, is a very simple approach, but like the plan you talked about there for the big picture around measuring carbon. This is homing in on a workplace and thinking, well, what are we doing at the minute and how we can do it better and smarter. One of the great things about sustainability as well is that this is more than just about thinking. The benefits of sustainability ripple right through. And we were speaking earlier to one of the colleagues around, actually, this is not just about, you do sustainability, it puts you in a stronger position in terms of procurement, because increasingly, we see it from our pieces of work that we tender for, more and more local authorities saying, actually, we want to see businesses actually doing their bit around social value. So it's not just about sustainability, it's not just about, as I say, hitting those carbon figures, it's making you more competitive. It was mentioned earlier about HR as well, staff retention, recruitment, all those things, and delivering a whole range of different benefits. And the great thing as well for the business is also about benefits for the staff. So about cost savings you can perhaps bring for individuals, also about the health and well-being, and also those people that are very much now looking more towards, actually, we want to be part of a business where we can actually reduce our carbon footprint. So we're going to go on a little journey here. Okay, so what is a workplace travel plan? I'm not going to go into fine detail here, but it gives you an overview, basically, of what we hear. So think a bit about a journey. This is not about having a plan that says to people, you can't bring your cars anymore to work, but it's about giving people options. And and about highlighting what those options can be. And a workplace travel plan is about just having something that is a living document that can be used and updated as you go. So, in plan terms, you've got a starting point. So that's about measuring where you are at the minute. You've got then a bit of a compass, how we're going to get where we want to go to, what's going to guide you. We've got that journey, what we're going to do along that way. And also, ultimately, what we're aiming for. Yes, we may be aiming for, being net zero. Are there other things we're also aiming for? So a little bit about the starting point and what you would put into a plan like this is thinking about, where we are, the context, what support is already in place. We've got Hannah May with us from the City Council here today. They've got a whole range of different services there. There are grants, aren't there, Hannah? You will say you've got money on you today, potentially, but there are grants. There are grants there to support businesses, put in cycle infrastructure and things like that. But it's also thinking about the business, and it was reflected earlier about the culture, the DNA of a business. It's about looking at how does that maybe need to change, also about that leadership as well. The compass really is about, we need to sort of get our orientation, and that is about, ultimately, we've got to measure. With all carbon aspects, there has to be a way of actually, you've got to start to measure, understand, what's happening at the minute, whether that's business travel or whether that's that commute. How are people doing those journeys at the moment? And also then start to look around what other initiatives can support and complement to that. And then thinking a bit about that journey, then start to think about, okay, so we want to, we're coming from here, we want to get to there. What things do we need to put in place? And our experience is that it's often it's a range of measures, but also that's complemented by a range of marketing and communication activities as well to really help to engage and incentivise people to think about options that they have. Because the reality is we all kind of work, we know what we know, and there's things that we don't know. And it's about helping people understand, what are those other things that are available practically. And certainly, we're in Leicester and Leicestershire. There are things out there, you got to choose how you move website and the like. Some really great resources there, which are just there freely available to help support more sustainable travel. And thinking about different initiatives, and there are a whole range of things, got examples on there. Some of these are national, some of these are local initiatives. There's a whole bank of different things. And it's often not about necessarily thinking we've got to do big capital spends here. And for some of those capital things, there could be grants to help you on that one. A lot of it is really about, is thinking about you know, the attitude and the approach and the way we communicate. And then the destination is thinking about, okay, so what are we trying to achieve here? You know, what are we trying to reduce our carbon footprint from this for our travel through to that? Is that part of it? And also what are the other things we want to achieve? And some of the very practical things that we would say around a workplace travel plan is, it's about, so many people do travel plans because they're often associated with planning permission. And often you go to the council, you put a new building up and they'll say, yeah, you need to do a travel plan. If it's a really big building, there'll be maybe a transport assessment requirement before. And it's kind of got lost in that space around, it's about planning process, it's about ticking that box. But there's no reason why every business, whether large or small, actually has a bit of a plan in this space. And it's about creating a bit of a narrative then. So what's this about? What's all the benefits? Recognising that the benefits, you know, are not just about the business achieving its carbon footprint. It's actually then translating that to individuals and what they can gain. Very key is, and we heard it earlier really, just in terms of the whole measurement of carbon, is thinking about, it's about seeing a lot of this about senior buy-in. It's crucial, you know, and we see examples and slightly put our head in the hand sometimes where, you know, you've got some great work happening at the coalface, you know, where they are trying to support, you know, behaviour change, and then you're still outside, in perhaps a little bit less prevalent nowadays, but you go outside then into the car park for the employer, and you'll see those priority parking spaces in front of the front doors with the MD, the FD, and etc. And that's when you're trying to encourage people, actually, we want to be car sharing, or we're all in this together. There's clearly a mixed message going on there. Really important as well is about focusing on the benefits. You know, it's always the danger is you get focused on the features, not the benefits, and it's about the benefits. So what's in this for me and for you is always often where we need to come back to. And keep it simple, keep it lively. It's about humans and activities, and we are creatures of habit, and it's about giving that stimulation. Sure. So there's a bit of kind of the theory and the practice. Well, the theory about what we could do.